What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with our waiver wires week 3. Thank you guys so much for showing up. We've had a bunch of people in the live stream. I went live the other day. We're going to start doing Sunday live streams, so stick around if you have any last minute start sits. If you have any questions, like should I drop this guy, add this guy, league dependent, team dependent questions, just leave them in the comment section down below. I respond to all comments. Make sure you hit that sub button if you want to stick around, win your league, and dominate your friends and family. Just hit that sub button. It's that easy. Appreciate any likes we get as well. It really helps the video out. Let's hop into this and start talking waivers. So for quarterbacks, for streamers for this week and long-term ads, my one long-term ad would probably be Derrick Carr. Carr has been absolutely shredding. Bad matchup, good matchup. I mean, he's had two pretty bad matchups to start the season. Miami doesn't get any easier, but I expect him to continue to play well. I'd be adding Derrick Carr. They're getting an insane amount of pass volume as well. 37 attempts against Pittsburgh in a game when they were winning and 56 against Baltimore. I expect him to continue to play well. Another guy I think you can stream this week that's probably available in most of your leagues is Daniel Jones against Atlanta. We saw that rushing upside he had last week. Gets that Atlanta matchup. That should be nice and juicy for him. I think he's a good play. Kirk Cousins as well. I think he's a streamer this week if he's not available in your league, or if these guys aren't available in your league. Another guy I would throw out there is Jared Goff. Goff has been shredding as well. Put up 28 points, 18 last night. Obviously faces Baltimore and Chicago the next 2 weeks, so some tougher matchups. But he's a guy to keep an eye on if you're in deeper leagues. I think he'll have a ton of passing volume throughout the year, so he's a guy you can continue to stream and keep an eye on. If you're in a really deep league, Sam Darnold's played pretty well so far this year, 19 and 19 both weeks. So if you're in a deep league. But let's move on to more of these positions of impact. Running backs, if they're available in your league, I would be adding James White first. Next guy up I'd be adding is Cordarrelle Patterson. We saw him heavily involved in that Atlanta backfield. He is the third down back. Look at his stats last week. He had 7 carries, which is just enough. He's getting 7, 8 on the ground, 5 through the air for 51. I think he's a great ad, to be honest with you. He's a guy that impacts the game. If he keeps getting 7 attempts, that's a good amount. I like James White a little bit more because he gets consistently more receiving work. He's not as explosive as a player, though. But I think if Cordarrelle Patterson could end up out carrying James White even this year if he stays healthy. He's got that matchup against the Giants next week, so I'd be adding him. I view him as a little bit less consistent, a little bit more explosive James White, to be honest with you. But I think if James White's a little bit more solid, a little more consistent. So really it's team dependent, I guess, which one you would add. Looking at our next guy, Kenneth Gainwell is a guy who's been involved in a lot of games. He could still be out there in your league. I would look to add him. We've seen his involvement in the passing game as well as getting some carries on the ground. Ty Johnson got some carries this week. If you're desperate, I think you could add him if you're in a 14, 16-team league, something like that. I think he's worth an ad as well, but I think more of this pie just continues to go Michael Carter's way, and it's a split pie already in the Jets' backfield. I don't know if I really want to be involved in that situation, to be honest with you. Another guy I want to throw out there, he might be available in your league. I don't even know if he's available in this league or not. This is a 10-team league, so I can show all the guys that are out there. I want to have more guys available. This is not my typical league format, but this is just one I use for talking about our waiver wire videos. But Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson could be out. It's a tough matchup against Tampa Bay. Their run defense is excellent, but the Rams' offense is great. He's got a chance of punching in a touchdown or two. So Sony Michel would be a guy I would add as well if you're desperate. And not desperate, but he's a guy I think is worth an ad if you want to play this week and you're not afraid to play him against Tampa Bay. Okay, let's move on to wide receivers. My number one ad of the week, if I could add one player this week, it would probably be Rondale Moe. We've seen him become more and more involved throughout the season. Obviously only 2 games in, but 5 targets, 8 targets, 24-10. You'd be happy with both those weeks, honestly. And let's take a look at Ronald Moe's college stats. As a true freshman, so he got hurt both these years, but as a true freshman, he had 114 receptions, 1,258 yards, 12 touchdowns, averaged 10 a pop on the ground. The guy is a dynamic player with the ball in his hands, and Arizona's been getting him the ball. He's a guy I would love to add. I'd play him this week against Jacksonville. He's got a high upside. Rondale Moe probably my number one ad this week. Another guy I would add, my next guy wide receivers is KJ Osborne. He's been the third wide receiver, and he's 3 wide receiver sets for the Minnesota Vikings, and he's been getting the ball 14 in week 1, 20, but the big number is 9 targets and 6. He's being involved every week. And this Minnesota Vikings team, their defense, we expected them to be better, and they might be improved, but they're not great. That offense is going to continue to need to score in bunches, so I think he is worthwhile pickup. Another guy who I think will be solid every week that's out there is Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow, we've seen, they've got Darren Waller, obviously, but Bryan Edwards and Henry Ruggs had that long touchdown, but Renfrow's being used in that intermediate slot game. 9 targets, 7 targets. I expect him to continue to get right around this amount of points on a pretty consistent basis. Close that double-digit mark, and you can do a lot worse in receivers, especially if you're in a deep league. Another guy I would throw out there is Zach Pascal. We've seen him catching touchdowns for the Lions. Not for the Lions, for the Colts. What am I saying? I got my blue teams mixed up, but 20 and 14. He's a touchdown guy. Monitor Patterson Wentz's situation, though, before I add him, probably. Let's move on to tight ends. Gronk would be my number 1 tight end to add. As I said last week, I would be adding Gronk in all formats. I think he's going to have a solid year. Tyler Higby, if he's out there in your league, I still think Tyler Higby is a worthwhile add. That offense is just so good, and he's been playing a lot of snaps, so don't abandon the cart on Tyler Higby just yet, I think. But a guy I would be adding as well, Max Williams. Max Williams had a great week this last week. We saw 7 targets for the tight end, which is pretty phenomenal. Caught all of them, but a better matchup against Jacksonville. Monitor his target situation. I think, at the tight end position, if you ever can find somebody on a good offense that could potentially be targeted, it's worth an add, though. So I keep an eye on him. If you guys have made to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any team-dependent or league-dependent questions, add this guy, drop that guy, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll let you know what I would do. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Fantasy Joe. See you guys.